Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I'm joined by my buddy Myron.
Nick, I acknowledge you.
Thank you. It's about time, right? Acknowledge me.
Yes.
Yes.
Where did that wonderful opening music come from? I always love it when we have such a great music that come into the show too.
Listen, man, it's something. It's funny. I just posted about this the other day, maybe yesterday, day before, depending on when you're listening. And I keep telling people like custom entrance music. And look, I'm not the only one. I saw Naja posted something about it as well. And I've been saying it forever because people ask me like when we put our, hey, if we want to put your matches up on YouTube or whatever, and you're doing it as well. If you're using copyrighted material, we're gonna get it. Dude, I got hit with a copyright claim for a freaking commercial we ran for somebody last week. I couldn't even monetize last week's show because there was a funk rift in the Manscaped commercial, so they're out. I can't add that, add them to the mix anymore.
How am I gonna shave my?
I didn't say you can't buy with them and use them, and I'll have to share them on social media, or we can plug them. We just can't run that commercial. Is what I'm saying. I can't run that commercial anymore.
Okay.
Because we got hit with the copyright. But anyway, to your point, get custom entrance music, and everybody's like, "Oh, I don't have the money." Okay, you don't have money for gear. You don't have money for entrance music. You don't have money for this. You probably shouldn't be wrestling then. Oh, that's terrible to say, right? You got to invest in yourself. Cut back on the Monster Energy drinks for 2 weeks, and get some custom gear, get some custom mention music. And I know a guy. What's your question you asked me? Look, my son-in-law does, Punk Flesh does music. I know there are other people out there that do it as well, by the way. It's not, but hit him up. He'll do it. Just give a consultation, what you're looking for. Hey, I'm looking for something like rap, with a little hip-hop. He could do that. Hey, I'm looking for something for more with a little heavy metal, blah, 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 blah. He can do that. Obviously, he did our intro for us, right?
All our music is if you've listened to the show for a while, we always have really crisp music, and we get a lot of praise for that. It's always him doing it.
Correct. Like I literally just had a conversation with him probably a week ago and said, "Hey man, we've been using that same entrance thing for a while. I want to mix it up and change it up and do something different." And his literally was like, "What you looking for?" I go, something similar, more of the rock edge, blah blah blah. He's like, "Okay, I'll get you something, no problem." And so we'll sit there and tinker with it for a few weeks, and we'll figure out what we're gonna do, and we'll make the switch. So hit him up. He's on social media at Punk Flesh, Punk Flesh Music. Listen, and a lot of his music has a lot of that Latin Hispanic flavor to it, kind of thing. But he does everything. His favorite band, by the way, is Metallica. Friend of the show sent me, a Metallica keychain for him because he'd heard me talk about it. So, I'd given him one of those. But yeah, so he's like a big Metallica fan, but it's not like that's all he does. He also does beats and things like that. He collaborates with other musicians all over the world, by the way, because he's from Colombia, via Argentina. So he's got connections all over. So they do a lot of collaboration and stuff. So listen, hit him up. Just have a conversation. That's the thing. I think a lot of people. I always tell people in my line of work, sometimes it's just a conversation. Even if you don't end up doing business today, down the road, you might be like, okay, because then it's great to have connections because it's simple to say. It's like, okay, look, I don't have you may not even know exactly what you want yet, but you can kind of start the ball rolling and get it done, anyway. So Punk Flesh Music, that's who does our music. We strongly suggest reach out and, to him on social media and like I said, just have a conversation about putting something together. That's anyway, shameless plug, but definitely something you ought to look into, because, hey, there's somebody who gets it, by the way. And it's funny. I love his old song, but I really dig the Carly Bravo, the new music. So, and that's what I tell people, man. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Get you something that you can invest in and reuse, and that they can't. Because here's the thing, like you come out you to this particular song on the indies or whatever, but it's a copyrighted song. So when you go to Impact or NWA or as you're working your tiers up, you can't use that. And because you're not Daniel Bryan, by the way, or Bryan Danielson. Tony Khan's not going to pay for your copyrighted music to be your song. So it's kind of cool to have. And look, by the way, the big companies are going to do their own anyway. But how the hell do you promote yourself on YouTube? By the way, you should be able to monetize yourself on YouTube. That's something you should talk about. I had a great conversation about that at Southern Honor, by the way, with somebody. But if you have all copyrighted music or whatever, you can't. It's that simple. If you want to have a conversation about monetization and stuff like that, I'll be more than have a conversation with you about you. But look, until you're getting your own music that's not copyrighted, don't bother, because you're wasting it. You're just wasting your time, because you can't. Because you can't come out to copyrighted music, because otherwise you're gonna have to cut your entrance out completely. And last time I checked, that was the bulk of the thing, was getting the people to interact and whatever. But if you have to cut that whole thing out, it's literally like you're getting the goo from introductions on.
See, that's the thing people don't understand. We're not in the wrestling business. We're friends of the wrestling business. We're fans of the wrestling business. But Nick McDaniel is in the business. He does life insurance. He does business. He's managed business. He's been business. We have both worked in retail management for our entire lives. He's been in all kind of different facets of management. He's a financial manager now, sells life insurance, sells everything. We can help people with other facets of their careers.
You can try.
Their wrestling
That's all
career.
You can do is you can try.
The man has figured out YouTube. The man has figured out so many different things. Talk business with him.
So
we can't tell you how to wrestle. We can tell you what we like about wrestling.
Nor would I try, right? That's what I tell people.
I ask people, that's the thing, people like us that are not wrestling people tend to get involved in the wrestling business and try to tell wrestlers too much about wrestling. And that's one thing I don't like. You keep seeing that on a daily basis. You see people who are wrestling fans think they're wrestling people, and then they cross that line.
Well, here's the thing. I can give you my opinion on what I liked.
Yes.
But I'm not going to tell you that it's right or what you're doing is right or wrong.
No,
I'm just going to tell you whether I would watch it or not.
Exactly. That's just what this show is. It's an opinion show for the most part.
And by the way, Myron, you have demoed out, sir. Always remember that. So
I am 50 years old. I'm outside the demographic. So nobody cares what I have to say anymore.
Nope. Your opinion doesn't matter anymore. But hey,
how can you reach people in the demographic these days, Nick? What do you do?
Man, look, we always talk about it, dude, and that we just had a conversation about it, dude. Where's everybody seem to be watching everything, man? It's on YouTube. We just had a conversation about monetizing on YouTube. YouTube.com. Hey, just search Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, Tapped Out Podcast Network. That's where you'll find us. And we tell you, dude, always promote it and always talk about it. Look, don't just like it. Everybody says, oh, like my page. No, don't just like the page. Subscribe to the page. Turn notifications on. That way you're going to know. By the way, I'm going to put the Star Trek thing up. I waited till author MB Mooney finished his Star Trek rankings, and then I'm going to put those up here in the next week or so.
What did he rank?
He ranked the Star Trek movies, like in order. All of the movies. He put them in order, like he ranked them, and it was a lot. I forgot how many, because yeah, I mean, but the original stuff, the Next Generation stuff, the new stuff.
I haven't seen that stuff since it came out.
I know. I'm just saying, man, it's really, really cool. But
wow.
So yeah, so you always want to make sure you're checking out on the YouTube, because that extra stuff there is not on the audio podcast feed. It is only on the YouTube channel.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, so 100%.
I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say about Bad Batch, because I have caught up on Bad Batch, man. And that show, the last couple of episodes have really impacted some serious Star Wars canon. So I can't wait to hear what old MB has to say about that.
Well, listen, speaking of making an impact, we were in Canton this past Friday.
Ooh,
at Southern Honor, and what an impact.
Yes.
So we had heard the rumors and stuff that they were going to have a new matchmaker, not booker. Some people are still calling it booker, but matchmaker, which I actually like the term. And I really loved where they went, by the way. Listen, I pushed for Todd Sexton. I did.
Oh, yes.
I was like, look, he's Booker of the Year, right? He's this, that. He's the best booker around.
One of my favorite people, not just in Georgia wrestling, in the whole world.
Yeah.
Todd Sexton.
If you're looking for a booker and you're in the Georgia wrestling scene,
just leave him where he's at. He's too good.
Listen,
leave him at Southern Fried. No.
Just keep throwing big paychecks at him and let him travel all over the state and writing for everybody. I'm okay with that too. Todd Todd needs money, right? I'm always trying to sell him comic books and toys and stuff like that. So the more money Todd has, the better for me. Just saying.
keep leaning over so people can see that wall.
Oh yeah, because I do. Look,
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, well, maybe if we get a minute, we'll go into some of that. So, but we were at Southern Honor. The big announcement being the new matchmaker is none other than AEW legend, WWE Hall of Famer, Jake the Snake Roberts, Mr. Snake as he was called at one point. That's a big get. Because last time I checked, listen, take it for what it is. All outside factors out. Jake Roberts has a great wrestling mind. To be involved in any shape, form, or fashion, I almost said passion because that's what he's got. You could tell he had passion by his speech that he gave.
I love the way he talks. His voice is epic.
It's that
scary as hell.
I can't remember who we were just talking about how they make you lean in to listen to their promos. Like, we were talking about Roman. I was having a conversation with Roman about that, how he got to pull that off because he was in the Thunderdome era. So he didn't have to scream and shout over fans chanting it over. He could talk very calmly, whatever, and people like.
You're having a conversation with Roman.
I didn't have a conversation with Roman. I had a conversation about Roman with somebody.
Okay.
And I brought up Jake Roberts as the example of the way he cut his promos. So, and now going forward, it's like, look, Jake doesn't have any friends there. Jake doesn't have any favors he owes to people. He's like, hey, I'm just going to make matches that, I feel like the fans deserve, and that's what you're going to get. And by the way, later that night, he would make one. But look, the card from top to bottom was a great card. They put on a great show. Mm-hmm. Gary was fired up. Gary cut a promo to kind of remind everybody, like, they're back. They're gonna show Oh, by the way, that was prior. His whole prior to announcing Jake as matchmaker was wanting to remind everybody that they were the kings of the hill still, no matter what.
I would say sometimes Gary is the straw that stirs the drink, but a lot of times Gary is the whole damn drink too. And he just throws that drink in the face of everybody who pisses him off or questions him, and just reminds people he's Gary Lamb. And Georgia wrestling is his baby, and he's going to tell people what to do. It's one of those things. Wrestling is a business for dominant males, and he has to assert that dominance to keep his place and remind people. And he does that, and it's so great to be in there when he cuts those promos, and he does those things, and that crowd just eats. Just seeing the crowd he's talking and the crowd just eating his words.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was awesome. It was a great promo. I love to see it. I was excited. The card's great. Everybody was electric. And how the hell you start with Judas and Croc as a match? Judas and Croc as a match.
I think so. We've seen the Proc versus Judas now. We saw it at Southern Friday, and then we saw it at Southern Honor. And I think the beauty of what we saw was has the old term gets out there, and it could be overused, and but I think in this case we proved they proved pronouns pal. They proved that you can get over without going over.
Yes.
Proc, even in 2 losses, still showed he can go toe-to-toe with who, by the way, let's remember, just a week ago, I made a case and an argument of why Michael Judas wasn't the NWA World's Champion.
Yeah.
Well, we might address that in a little bit as well. But that was so, for me to sit there in one breath and say that I think you could make an argument that Judas could be NWA Champion, and then also discuss about how Proc, the Croc Johnson hung with him and, basically showed he belongs in that conversation, shows the leaps and bounds that one Proc the Croc Johnson has made.
I don't know. Proc has him a woman, and he's looking better, and he's getting healthy, and he's got looks like he's in better shape. How does that work?
Listen,
every time I get a woman, I get fatter and more useful.
I also, by the way, because look, I know behind the scenes, he's gotten some great advice for some people. and who have kind of helped steer the ship and, help him kind of focus and, make some of the improvements that we've seen. And look, I keep saying, like, I want to do a show, but here we are into February, so I think we're a little late to do a show about who to watch for in 2023. But it could be something like, but he's one of those guys. Like, he is one of those guys that I'm like, because somebody was like, oh, do you think Carly Bravo's the guy to watch? Well, Carly Bravo's not a guy to watch for. He's already a guy you should be watching at this point, because he's reached a certain level already. And I think I could see him being champion at multiple promotions already, across the board. And I'm talking like these big promotions as well. So, but Proc's there. I think Proc's that guy that's about to make that leap in 2023. And so I'm really excited about that. But other matches on the card, look, I love where we went. Look, Nick Halen, goes out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Short match. Parker Lee, is what it is. But look, Nick Halen's, he is. I don't want to get him mad because we like Nick Halen, but co-wrestler of the year with AC Mack, who then would actually.
That's going to be fun.
That match will be spectacular. AC Mack made his return to Southern Honor, who I think, as you heard from that crowd, made a lot of people happy. AC Mack is beloved in that building. That was a new crowd last night,
Friday night.
Yeah.
That was a new crowd. I don't think a lot of people recognize Mac. That was what shocked me.
There's a lot of new people. Yeah, a lot of new people there that night, which
was
good.
Weird. It's good for business, but it was different.
It's always good to see friends that we have in the building. But I love it when we see new people. And look, Mason, Alex, awesome running into them. Got to take a picture with them. He posted. I saw he posted on Facebook, like and then we saw our buddy Max, there with his dad Ted. Ted is Max's dad now. That's how we've translated. Ted's went from being Ted's my friend to now Max's dad, right?
But that's the thing. That's the thing, man. The kids that show up for those shows, those kids were standing on their chairs. Those kids were running around when the wrestlers got outside the ring. We're following them. The kids are the future of wrestling.
They're the future. They're the fans. Yeah.
That's how this sport is going to continue to survive. It can't survive on people like me outside the demographic.
Well, listen, I hate to be the bear. I don't want to be the downer here, but it can't be built on us because we don't have that long to continue it into the future.
No.
Right? Let's say you were at 20 years. If we're the only wrestling fans and you're not, bringing along the next wrestling fan, right? And like getting them introduced to it and showing them wrestling and getting them, to become fans of it. That's the future. Like I said, we always try to talk about.
My kids don't watch.
All right.
Do yours?
You did a listen, I had all girls, so they did when they were young, but I had all girls, and they're just not, they're just not really into it anymore. So, but like, listen, I talked to my daughter the other day. Like I talked about, I've got twin grandsons, and I said, hey, I want to start having them spend the night one night because I want to start taking them to some shows and stuff. And she was like, because they're old enough now that I think we can be okay.
Yeah,
and
do that.
Hell yeah. So we've kind of waffled. Is it Colbert on a Sunday? So they, I pick them up and we go to that show, UWF, something like that. It's something like that. So we'll see.
You see Uncle Justin or Justin Saint.
The problem is, like I said, it's because it's going to be new. They're probably not going to stay. We may not be able to stay the whole show. So that I'm concerned about that a little bit. So we'll see. But anyway, Southern Honor tag team. They retain. It's Happy Madness is still your Southern Honor, and we're going to address kind of where that went at the late end of the show. Then we had what else? We had Chip and Gunner for the Southern Honor title.
It was a good match.
Great match. We love Gunner Miller. Gunner Miller's the great champion and face of the company. To be that guy. I think I keep saying it. I see like the Chip Day wheels are turning, and it's about time. I think everybody needs to watch. Even though he came up short in this one, I still think his day's coming where he is that Southern Honor champion. That's just my take. We did find out. So kind of to address the Jake the Snake Roberts, he's announced as your matchmaker, and essentially his first match to be booked is that he has announced that at the April show, the returning Corey Hollis is going to be facing off against Gunner Miller for that said Southern Honor.
Solid.
Ironically, by the way, I would be remiss if I didn't say this. Look, I get it. People are going to say, whatever they're going to say about it. I found it a little bit odd considering Carly Bravo, albeit via disqualification, Carly Bravo beat Corey Hollis earlier in the night. So Carly Bravo has a legitimate beef of, okay, well then why is he not facing Gunnar Miller? So
Corey did look sharp, though. I got to give him that. Corey didn't miss a beat in that time off.
I agree. I'm not saying Corey Hollis doesn't deserve one. That's not what I'm saying at all. My argument is, but if he deserves one and Carly Bravo beat him earlier in the night, why is Carly Bravo not facing?
Oh, yeah, totally. So, if you look at, but you got a matchmaker now. You don't got a booker, you got a matchmaker.
That is true.
It's got an MMA feel, and you know what? You know what's going over in that building right now?
There's a legitimate. We want to see Corey Hollis and Gunnar Miller because of their history. So that makes sense, and I get it. That's where you're making a match. You're just kind of like, hey, we're not saying it's XYZ. We're saying, like, we would love to see this match because of the history that's there, and that's what we're going to get. I think Carly Bravo could make the argument he's next in line. Yes. If nothing else, Carly Bravo's next in line. Should he be next in line or should he be first in line? Send us that at tappedoutpod@gmail.com as to where you think he should be. But I still think if because that match is already made, I think he's next in line. However, there's thoughts and questions of where do they go next because simply post the main event that they had on the show, Joe Black, Murder One, had a street fight. Murder one, wins. Shocked me. I'm not gonna lie. I was stunned.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was figuring it would be Joe. That was a brutal match. In the end, Joe came back and saved Murder One.
Yeah. So
what the hell?
That's what I was about to say. The shock didn't end after the loss, that Joe suffered to Murder One. Anytime you give me street fight, Joe Black's involved, I'm probably going to put my money on Joe Black. So I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
But after the match, fellow Dishonor members, Happy Madness, attack Murder One and start putting the boots to him and, and then, of course, Joe comes back and makes the save. That's where things, so clearly we look like maybe there's a hierarchy reunion now going to be in Southern Honor. It looks like they probably are going to have something to say about Happy Madness being champions. We'll see. Time will tell. But again, there's
no Dishonor.
I'm guessing Dishonor's over, or is it? Because we're not sure. Because standing outside the ring, not helping either side, mind you, was one Carly Bravo. So Carly Bravo, I could stand here and argue he's in the picture of the Southern Honor title picture. What he's in the story, he's in the circle. What about, is there a hierarchy? What about Joe Black? Does Carly side with Joe Black and Murder, or does he side with Happy Madness, who was his Dishonor team? Blah blah blah. There's all this kind of stuff that there's. What's next, folks? By the way, when you leave your show, that should be kind of the questions. What's next? I mean, what's next for what's next for Joe Black and Murder, the hierarchy, if we're going to go with that. We'll find out next show if that's the case. Versus Happy Madness. What does Carly Bravo fit into that? Where does Carly Bravo fit into the Southern Honor picture? Because Gunnar can hold on against Corey Hollis, because who knows Gunnar Miller better than Corey Hollis inside of Southern Honor, right?
But they're going to take a month off.
Yeah.
And then when they come back, are Gunnar and Miller going to be Gunnar and Corey going to be the only two people left against Murder and Joe, or
are
Dishonor
they
back,
or is Joe? Yeah,
blah, blah, blah. So much going on. April 7th, they coming back.
We're going to find out who Nick Kalen, AC Mack, who's going to be who's going to win that match and they're going to be able to hold claim to Wrestler of the Year. I mean, there's so many things going on there. Look, we
hopping in Georgia wrestling.
Like Cyrus, I assure you, after the way that match ended, with a loss, to Exotic Youth, because he had kind of gotten sidetracked and went off, chasing off Zach Mosley. So his team and top team and Cyrus were 6-man versus Exotic Youth, with a substitute for Zach Mosley being 100 James.
Yes.
I can't even escape him at Southern Honor anymore. Now he's at Southern Honor.
No.
By the way, as much as week after week after week, he may rub people the wrong way, but clearly the kid is gifted, and I think he was a great fit mixed in to the Exotic Youth, albeit where it was maybe a one-off. Maybe we'll see. But it was really good to see. But I assure you, Hunter, don't get mixed up into this thing with Cyrus long term. It won't end well
No,
for
I'd
you.
stay away from Cyrus.
Yeah,
I would stay away
exactly.
from Cyrus.
So, but again, top to bottom, great card. Super exciting. It's always good to go up to Canton, seeing like so many of our friends that are at that show. It's always a blast to see. So kudos to them, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Just take a month off and
I got a question. This is what struck me, and this is gonna. I'm not meaning to insult anyone, or it's something trend I keep seeing in North Georgia. Um, eight matches on the card. Southern Fried had a bunch of matches. I'm seeing less and less women's matches on every card I go to, every show I go to. Southern Georgia seems to be having some. I know Crystal Rose is up here, but is she the only woman wrestling in the area right now?
I think there's not, I don't know that you would argue there's a shortage of women's wrestlers. I think there may be right now a shortage of top tier. Like you said, you brought up the Crystal Rose as a veteran. She's been around. She could carry, she can. Lindsay Snow's your champion down in IWE. Ellie, Dream Girl Ellie does a lot in Viral. But you see what I'm saying? Like, it's not necessarily like she does IWE stuff too, I believe, but it's kind of like sporadic. And again, we're not knocking a lot of the other women that we see. The problem is there's been less and less since. I'll put it to you this way, and she tweeted out, so I don't think I'm out of line to hear the ask this. I'm not saying there's not, but when Danny Jordan, had some stuff go on and she took a break, and she's been on hiatus for a little while. Like, it exponentially show like the lack of depth because she was everywhere. That's just it. Danny Jordan was everywhere. It felt like Danny Jordan was wrestling for everybody. So my question is, did that exponentially, what's the word I'm looking for, Myron? Magnify the void, or that was there? Because look, as great as Lindsay Snow is, and as great as Crystal Rose are, who do they work? I know the Renegade Twins, and we'll address them later. They're doing some big things, but that generally means, by the way, if you're on Dark and NWA, etc., whatever, you're not wrestling in any indies. Is there such a need? I saw somebody else post on social media. I apologize, I can't remember who it was, but it was using the men's division as an example. But I think with NXT, AEW, NWA, all of them basically pulling so much for the indies, is it even more so the case that it is chewing up a lot of that indie women's talent, that there's just not that much there on a to run? And is that why we're seeing? I think that's kind of your point, that we're seeing it like yeah, Crystal Rose is great, right? Lindsay Snow's great, but Crystal Rose can't wrestle for every single promotion because some of them work the same nights. Does that make sense?
Well, she's also a mother too.
Well, I mean, I'm just let's take all of life out of the way, right? Let's pretend wrestlers don't have a life and they could do whatever they want. They could work every weekend. Okay, well, we know that on a lot of Saturdays, you'll have 3 promotions wrestle. Well, they all 3 can't book Crystal Rose in a program, because if they're like, well, we might be wrestling the same nights, and then so who's she going to pick? She's going to work here. Lindsay Snow's going to be at IWE, but Lindsay Snow, by the way, is working probably more than just Georgia. And like I said, do you want to book the Renegade Twins in a long time story when they may be pulled to do NWA or AEW tapings or whatever? So you can't do that either. I think that's the biggest obstacle, is that their demand is so high that it's kind of tough to do. I mean, am I wrong? I don't know. I'm asking. tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Let us know.
I definitely want to hear from people on this one. It's something I'm interested in and fascinated by. Is it different? Is it a different curve for women than men right now? Is it shifted? Did it used to be different? Is it
easy? Is it since the expansion in AEW and more pulling from the indies? Is it? And I would want to know, like, from bookers, promoters, Is it more difficult to book women in general, and is that why we're seeing it, or is just a lot of the talent being spoken for in other promotions that it's just hard to consistently book a program? I think that's the question. So because a lot of the, like I said, it's just as few women as there are, they get pulled so fast. I think there's just a need for it so fast. Impact, I mean, they pulled a ton of women because they have a great women's division. NXT,
I think Impact's probably got the best women's division in my opinion.
You could make that argument. I agree. It's a tough one.
Outside of the E, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I was just by default saying not counting WWE. I mean, but I'm saying in general. But look, it's not just that. By the way, we'll go a little bit out of order here, and talk a little bit about because the NWA, right? We just mentioned.
Wow, yeah.
The Renegade Twins. They're the NWA Tag Champions from this weekend. Mm-hmm. Camille is still your NWA Women's Champion. I mean, but she's been there forever. She's been on top, and has no signs of slowing down at all. And I think, they think about it, they have a women's division, a women's tag division, so they have a solid, women's division. Yeah. So a lot of those, it's tough to so Saturday you couldn't be booked on an indie show because all of those women were wrestling. Kenzie Page, Ellie, Indy, I can't remember. Sorry, I apologize. I'm drawing a blank on the name. Wrestled the Renegade Twins, Angelina Love, Camille. They're so. Yeah, that's kind of my point is that you can't book those on indie shows because they're now going to get pulled. The Renegade Twins have commitments to be your NWA Tag Champion, so if they're running any type of show or taping or whatever, they have to be there. So if you book them in a Georgia indie show, and it's not likely to happen after the fact, but if they found out tapings were going to be, especially, God forbid, here's the great example, IWE, they're like, hey, we're going to do something with the Renegade Twins. They only go every 2 months. So if they are planning on using them in 4 months, then they find out, oh, by the way, the same night you were going to use them, they're doing NWA tapings, so they can't be there. What do you do then? I'm like, because then it was like, well, that was a waste. And throw that into dark tapings where they do kind of last minute.
Well, they tape like crazy. I mean, AEW is always taping something.
So anyway, that's kind of our point. But so let's keep it growing, man. But before we move on to some more of that national stuff, if you're trying to get fit, trying to get healthy, and that's great coming from somebody like us, right? You should. I tell you who you should trust. That would be our friends over Athletic Greens.
You're going to need a smaller cabinet because now you can take all those supplements you're taking or not taking and replace them with this. AG1 by Athletic Greens brings 75 vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, probiotics, and adaptogens together in one place. It might just be the most comprehensive and convenient nutritional regimen on the planet. Immunity supporting, recovery enhancing, digestion improving, energy lifting. Made to the strictest quality standards. Made New Zealand. Made for just about everybody.
That's right, man. Whether it's keto, paleo, whatever types you're trying to try, if you're trying to get all of those nutrients and vitamins and minerals and all that good stuff in one drink and one shot, Athletic Greens, check them out. athleticgreens.com/emerging. So, all right, man. Let's jump into the meat of it. There's a lot of crazy stuff. Derwin Baker, by the way, sent in. He was messaged me. I appreciate his question. Derwin sends questions on the regular, and I said, I did respond back and give my answer, but I do want to address Cody Rhodes, Paul Heyman segment on Raw. Loved it. Big fan.
Oh yeah, Jesus Christ, that was amazing. Jim Cornette loved it, for Christ's sake.
Shocking.
Keep Paul out of those tracksuits, those blue tracksuits, and keep him cutting promos, for Christ's sakes. The Sami Zayn promo was really good too. Wasn't as good as the Cody promo, but I mean, you can't invoke Dusty Rhodes with Sami Zayn. But anytime you invoke the name of Dusty Rhodes, it's going to get me.
Oh, I'm in.
And anytime, yeah, and he just hit it, and it's like, I'm tearing up.
Do you know why it worked so well?
Why is that?
The love fest. You felt the love fest back and forth. And
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody and said, this is why, to me, the promo worked so well. they got you in the mutual respect, the mutual admiration, the back and forth, talking about my favorite wrestler of all time, Dusty Rhodes. I'm in. I'm all invested. And by the way, all the way up until the end, Heyman just stuck the knife right at the end. Like, it was literally like, oh, respect and love, and your dad loved you, and and he stuck the knife right in. It was almost like the hug with the knife right into the side of the back. You know, like that's what, and that's why that promo worked for me. I felt like, he's so good. I'm going to ask you, Myron, because a couple people I saw on social media were arguing and hollering like it was too soon. They should have waited until after the Elimination Chamber to cut this promo, you know, blah, 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 on and on and on. And I argued, I disagree. I'll give you one reason. First and foremost, I said, can we wait to see what they do next week before we say it was too soon? Like, what if they literally, and listen, by the way, I'm fully aware I'm probably giving them too much credit. But I'm saying, what if they actually have a 7-8 week story that they're going to run off of this?
What if they just show me the damn promo every week? Or just, I know they're going to show me pieces of it. Okay. And it doesn't matter because I'm going to enjoy it every damn time. They're going to show me a little bit of the promo every week in highlights. And I'm going to be like, there's the promo. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's all they got to do. And they've got me hooked. And they're going to hook me all the way through Elimination Chamber. And they're going to use the Sami Zayn promo to get me to Elimination Chamber. Right now, folks, I'm so damn high on the WWE. I don't care.
They have all the momentum in the world right now.
You can't stop me. You can't say nothing bad about it. It's going to bother me. I don't care.
Yeah. You can talk bad about it, but I'm just not listening. I'm not hearing it right
bother now. Me.
I'm getting really good, Myron. We're both, and I think we're making this improvement on ourselves, and I strongly recommend fans in general. We're trying to be positive and like in a way of like, okay, good. And it's like, dude, it gets you in a good place when you're just enjoying some good wrestling. Even talking about it, like if you could still enjoy it along the way. But I do want to ask you this, Myron. I want to ask because, you know, we talked about the promo and like where, you know, by the way, I want to answer like it was too soon. What the hell else is Cody Rhodes supposed to talk about? He won the Royal Rumble. He knows he's going to Mania. He knows he's going to wrestle Roman Reigns. That's all I would talk about for freaking 7 weeks, 6, 7, 8 weeks, whatever the hell it is until I can't even remember. Mania is like April
50 days.
1st, 2nd, or
yeah, so it's like 6 weeks.
Okay, so
8 weeks.
All right. So what else is Cody going to talk about? By the way, we joked about it off the air. If I was Cody Rhodes, I wouldn't wrestle again until WrestleMania. I'm not risking getting hurt.
Shit.
I'm going to come out on Raw every week and shit talk.
Let that bastard stick that thumb in my throat. Let that Sokoa stick that thumb. He got that. His thumb is bigger than mine, and it's all taped up and stuff. Yeah. And he's gonna stick it right in my throat. You know what that? You know that's gotta hurt. My throat's already sore. Just
see. But yeah. So my thing is that. But then there was a unique thing that came out of it. Bischoff kind of teased Cody. What if? I always love the what ifs, right? We're not going backstage. You know,
my favorite comic books as a kid.
Yeah. Oh, I got a bunch of. Yeah, they love them. What if? Because we're going to talk a little bit about the Bloodline storyline. What if the Wise Man? He's called the Wise Man for a reason, by the way. What if the Wise Man sees the cracks in the boat hull, the ship's cracking a little bit, water's coming on? What if the Wise Man sees his exit? Like, maybe, what if that big love fest, what if that was just setting the table? Look, I know you argued off air, Cody Rhodes doesn't need a person to talk for him. Roman Reigns doesn't need somebody to talk for him. But we love it that he has Paul Heyman. We found out, by the way, that Brock Lesnar didn't need somebody talking for him.
That promo was fun.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar got me with a pro, because he comes out and he talks like this. I'm Brock Lesnar, and I've got on my cowboy hat, and
Yeehaw!
after I have sex with Sable for 4 or 5 hours, I think about Bobby Lashley, and I'm like, I don't know how that makes me feel, Mister Lesnar. I'm kind of uncomfortable.
Lots of it, but my point to that was, Myron, what if Cody Rhodes had Paul Heyman with him? What if that's the heel turn, and that Paul Heyman escapes that ship before it goes down because he already sees the cracks in the the ship with the Jimmy and the Jay and the Sami Zayn and
is Jimmy driving the ship?
I don't think so. Right now, good old Roman.
Has he been drinking?
Roman's driving the ship.
Okay, as long as you don't let Jimmy drive the ship after a few drinks, we're okay. I don't know. I mean, the Usos are super popular, even the heel popular. Roman's popular. This is the best thing Roman's ever done, man. I looked out in the crowd, and there was a whole front row of kids said, "We them." What is it? What's the thing? We them one. We the ones. We the ones that the Usos
you
were.
just lost any cool points you had whatsoever.
Nick, if you can tell, it's not all just the lighting in this studio.
You got no cool points. That's all I'm saying.
I'm the whitest. The white. Okay.
Yeah.
I got no coolness at all.
I try to hang on. I had anyway, but so
I ain't got no coolness. I'm 50 years old. I'm white. I wear mom jeans and running shoes, even though I don't run anywhere.
You got orthopedic running shoes.
I've got orthopedic running shoes. I got to go put some inserts in them because my feet hurt.
So
I'm on a heating pad as we speak.
I do want to ask you this because we talked a little Bloodline, Myron. You addressed Bloodline, and you were like, "Well, Jay, he looks at it." I'm like, "Did he really? What did Jay really do on SmackDown that showed any betrayal? Like he hesitantly fist bumped Sami?" I think Sami's being lulled to sleep, and Sami gonna be really disappointed come Elimination Chamber. That's my take. But I know a lot of people. Hold on, this is where I wanted to go with all this. A lot of people are saying like they're protecting Cody Rhodes, to try to like make him not get booed at WrestleMania. By the way, for the record, I want to say this. Is it too soon? Because Bischoff pointed out he felt like it was too soon to put the title on Sami. I agree 100%. You know why?
Why?
Because the more the fans temporarily short-term say they want something, I will say they will bail quickly. Sami could be the
more I
champion.
say they want it, don't give it to them.
Well, because, could I see SummerSlam Survivor Series putting one of the, especially, by the way, if you split the titles, I'm all for putting one on Sami. But the undisputed Universal Champion, Sami, I don't know about all that.
No. Don't put 2 belts on Sami.
Yeah.
No. Don't put 2 belts on Sami. Give Sami 1 belt. Don't put 2 belts on Sami.
I could say he's being a SmackDown champion and Cody being a Raw champion or something like that. I could.
Yes.
But my thing is, look, they are protecting Cody, trying to protect him, by the way. They're invoking the father's name. He had the injury. He had the comeback. They're like, he won the Rumble. They're trying to protect him so he's not booed at Mania because the fans want Sami as champion. I think fans want it until they have it, and then I think they would be bored with it in 3 months. They would be ready to move on.
How can Sami hold him? That's the question.
I do think he can.
Does Sami have holding power? Can he get the belt and hold him? Is Sami going to be the Andre the Giant champion, where he gets the belt and holds it for 6 hours or 6 minutes?
I think
they got to take it off of him.
There's a danger of, and Bischoff brought this up, by the way. This is but I agree 100%. If you take a guy at WrestleMania last year, Sami was a mid-card guy. Very entertaining. It was one of the funnest matches on WrestleMania, by the way, last year.
I agree.
The Jackass match. But
yes,
in 1 year to go from that to you're talking about putting a title on him, to me, is too fast. because I think he got there so quickly that I think the fans could lose interest as quickly. I think the fans need 6 months to a year more of him being a top level guy, like as a champion, before you put the belt on him for sure, because you want to see, can he hold it long term? Does that make sense?
Can he do it without Kevin Owens? Can he be a champion without Kevin Owens?
I think
around?
he's done it without Kevin Owens to this point, but my question is, can he do it without being part of the bloodline? Because I will argue to this fact. I've said, it was funny. I had this, somebody was saying like, oh, well, this is the hottest thing. And Roman's, I'm like, Roman's been good for 2 years plus, and it is, everybody was pushing back because, he was being shoved down your throats. And I was so sick of hearing that, because I'm like, dude, in the 70s, 80s, guys were shoved down your throats. You just didn't know any better. So you thought it was like, oh, this guy's really good. He's my favorite. And like, okay, oh, yeah, right, exactly. But he's a top guy. He's being pushed. So anyway, that's it. That's all. I mean, I just think it's too soon for Sami. So, and if you disagree, that's fine. tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Let us know. I have no qualms or quarrels about that.
Here's the problem. I'm gonna be at an indie show when this is on TV Saturday night. And I'm gonna have to come home
and watch it,
and then either watch it that night and then record, or we're gonna have to record the show without knowing what the hell happened.
No, I'm gonna watch, if not, because I will tell you this: Elimination Chamber, at worst, I will watch that world title match when we come home, because we'll get home at a decent enough hour from Southern Fried. Southern Honor, I rolled up in here at like 1 o'clock. That doesn't really. We stayed really late. But Southern Fried, I get home early enough. I at least watch that, then get up in the morning and probably watch, if nothing else, the chamber matches before we record next Sunday.
Liv Morgan's been in more women's chamber matches than anybody.
I did not know that.
They said that during Smackdown.
Because next Sunday, there's 2 potential cards we got to go to. One is the Colbert show in UWF up in Colbert, Georgia. And then the other one is all the way in Dalton. That's the Terry Lawler, Tommy Rich card that I was interested in going to. I found out with some family stuff, I don't know that I can go that far. So that's kind of an iffy situation at the moment. But anyway, so we'll see from there as far as that card goes. But there's all of that. But hey, look, we've already talked about it. There's 2 more things I wanted to get into, and we're running late already. So I do want to address something. AEW. We all know that we have friends that work there, people that I genuinely love work there.
Hey, I hope for the best for it.
I do. And this is
I think variety is the spice of wrestling.
We shy away a little bit. We try to, from ratings and viewership. This isn't really a question in the measurement of the viewership. It's not something that I want to ask. I honestly did. I thought MJF was a guy that they could put the title on, and that he would probably elevate them. And by the way, it didn't work with Punk. It didn't work with Page. It didn't work with Moxley. And in the grand scheme of things, anybody to this point. And MJF is your guy. What?
Punk is toxic. Page doesn't have a personality. All Moxley does is bleed. I hate to criticize these people. You got MJF. He should be the guy.
Okay.
He should be the guy.
He should be the guy. But everybody talked about how he was like and he is, by the way. Here's the thing. I think he's the real deal. I think he is a top guy. This isn't a damnation on MJF in the least. This is kind of why, to me, this is the genuine question. They still aren't regularly breaking 1 million viewers on Dynamite. Rampage has gotten worse. We joked about it, and I with all due respect, WOW had 326,000 viewers on their syndicated media thing that they outlet thing that they do with CBS. They were, not close is relative. Rampage hanging around 400,000. I'm like, Rampage ain't chasing NXT. Rampage ain't chasing WWE, period. Rampage needs to look in the rearview mirror and pray to God that WOW doesn't catch it. That, to me, would be bad, because everybody was beating up Impact that WOW tripled their viewership. But I'm like, hey, let's be fair about how many households have each channel, et cetera, whatever. But still, I mean, I agree, but still, there's that argument to be made. But Dynamite's the measuring stick. I don't consider Rampage a measuring stick. I consider Rampage being literally a second tier like wrestling show at this point. Because it doesn't matter what they put on it, it doesn't seem to draw anymore, and that's fine. It is what it is.
It's 10 o'clock on Friday night.
Correct.
It's a hard spot to sell.
But the only reason you have that argument, this is kind of why this, to me, is my question. 8 to 10 o'clock, SmackDown's over 2 million, and you're struggling to do 500,000. 5 times the number of that people are watching a wrestling show from 8 to 10 on Fox. I get
SmackDown
it.
SmackDown gets all the kids. That's what it gets, man.
Okay.
That's where your viewership is. It's Friday night. The kids get that before they have to go to bed on a Friday night. They get a little bit late.
Then my question is, what is the ceiling? Why is there a ceiling apparently on AEW? What do they need to change to elevate? Because you can't say, like, even Raw still doing in the close to 2 now. So, and if they're drawing half of Raw, you're on TBS, for crying out loud. It's not like you're on a crappy channel.
They have to quit trying to appeal to. Okay,
Can I correct you?
I'm trying to say.
I know where you're going. Hold on, I want to see if I'm correct here in this. I don't think they need to stop trying to appeal to, and I'm going to let you finish that sentence because I think I know what you're going to say. I think they need to stop only trying to appeal.
That's better. Yes, much better. The internet wrestling community. Let's phrase it better. I was going to say something offensive to the internet wrestling community. Nerds.
I don't even think it's that, because I'm as nerdy as they
Nerds.
I don't. I think you're going like, yuck chuckle chuckle, good.
No,
brothers.
I need the Good Brothers to go.
Yeah,
nerds.
So, Doc, if you're cut that for me on audio or a video and send that to me so I can start playing that when I need it.
Just go nerds.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, there's a group of long-haired.
Myron, it's not that. Because I don't like. Look, I think you're pigeonholing
him. Well, this was a 5-star match.
Okay, now you're getting closer to home. I think
you're catching Dave Meltzer jacking off in his office to these matches, and it's like, no, that doesn't sell. We need
it does sell, but it sells to a smaller audience, and I think they need a bigger audience.
Wrestling should be spectacle. Okay, we were talking about the difference between Danhausen and Kamala earlier.
No, that's a different argument. That's a totally different argument. That is, to me, one of the most hilarious comebacks I've heard or seen in a long, long time. Somebody making fun of, back in my day, Jim Cornette, back in my day, we would never have anything like Orange Cassidy or Danhausen on our TV show. And somebody responded back with an image of the missing link in Kamala and said, really? That's as silly as it comes, and that was in the 70s, 80s.
Massive difference, though.
No, it's not.
Those guys look like they could hurt you. No, massive difference. Those guys look like they could hurt you.
Do you know why it's a massive difference, Myron? It was a massive difference because you were a little mark at that point, and you didn't know anything. You were scared of them, and hey, now you're not scared of them because you know better. You know the more of
I'm
the
still
stuff.
scared of them. Dude, I met the one-man fucking gang. He still scared me. He put a chain around my damn neck.
And he all kinds of health problems, and you still thought he could whip your ass.
He still could. I have more health problems.
That's true.
Well, maybe not. But the thing, I hadn't been diagnosed with some of them at that appearance.
Right.
But the thing is, it's all about perception. And I don't perceive.
But it's because you're not that little kid anymore.
I still am when I go to I'm not that little kid for AEW. I'm that little kid for WWE.
But I'm saying, when I mean the little kid, you're not afraid of, Orange Cassidy or Danhausen because you're a bigger dude now. You're not a little kid. I am okay with. That's the funny part. I don't necessarily like love the Orange Cassidy character, but I get it. I
don't have a problem
understand.
with those guys.
And I just think they're the silly characters, which I honestly think they need more. Like, people say they need less Jericho, and I disagree. I think they need more Jericho.
Oh no, everybody needs more Jericho.
Yeah.
They need as much Jericho as they can get right now.
But you want to know my own, and I get it. You need to make superstars, but do they get carried away with Bryan Danielson making a new star? And do they, or with CM Punk was trying to make all those young stars? There's a fine line between making a younger star and that younger star dimming your star, like pulling you down. Like,
yes.
People, did they lose confidence? That I don't know. But that's why the question: why is there a ceiling? tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Why do you think
we're
there's a
worried
ceiling?
about match quality? Just go out there and put together some kind of crazy shit. Get it to the Elimination Chamber. They had that steel cage match in Atlanta with Cody Rhodes and Warlock or whatever fucking name
Wardlow.
Yeah. Yes, where MJF was with him. Have that match. Have steel cages. Have elimination chambers. Have Hell in a Cells.
They have
hair.
blood and guts. They have the cage matches.
You don't need blood and guts all the time. Okay.
I think we're getting a women's one. From watching AEW, I think we're going to get a women's AEW blood and guts, like a cage match. I think it's coming. I don't know why. I just got a gut feeling that I think we're heading for one, and I think that's coming sooner than later. But anyway, so I again,
look,
let us know.
I am I'm not out of work. I'm on sick leave right now due to my seizures. I can go to work for you, AEW. I can fix this. I can get you over 1 million viewers. Okay? I can fix this for you. I need a good prescription plan for all of my medications, and we're good to go, man. We're good to go. Actually, I can go on my girlfriend's insurance. I don't want to travel that much. Well, I can. What the hell? Nice hotel rooms, first class planes. I can take care of you. I can get you over. I guarantee you 1 million viewers a week. Spectacle.
Guaranteed or your money back.
Guaranteed you. Well, I'm not gonna go that.
No, I didn't think you go that far, but
I'm not gonna go that far.
Yeah.
But you know what? I know I can do it.
Well, maybe.
I'll hire Dylan.
There you go.
Todd.
You'll hire them as consultants for a portion of your fee, and then let them do all the work, and you'll just turn it in. You'll cheat off of their homework, turn it in, and you'll take the A, and you'll like throw them some of the money that you get.
25 years of retail management have taught me anything. It's good people working for you. Is
Delegation. Delegation. Everything. That's right. Hey, They're going to pay me $100,000 a year to book for them, and I'll tell Todd and Dylan I'll pay them $25,000 a piece for suggestions.
Yes. Just mail it to me.
Give me all your suggestions, and I'll turn in a merged paperwork, and I'll collect my $50 to pay them $25 a piece.
Do they have any white people in masks? Also, I mean, well, not just white people. I'm just not luchadors, non-luchadors in masks.
I don't even. I don't know. I'm lost. I don't know.
Okay, so you gotta have some masks.
I want Mr. Wrestling number 3. That's who I want.
See, right there, you done fixed a lot of shit. Right there, Mr. Wrestling number 3.
He'll call himself 4, and he'll say he's the grandson of Mr. Wrestling number 2. Well, what about 3? He didn't wrestle.
Parts unknown.
No, he
didn't wrestle.
He didn't get into the family business. He went into like
real estate.
He's in real estate. There you go.
Yeah.
Real estate was boring to me, so I wanted to get into the family business, which is wrestling. So there you go. That's not bad. Look, all the things you can learn and then some over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, Tapped Out Podcast Network. Make sure, guys, it's real simple. Like the page, subscribe to the page, turn on your notifications, because this week, not only will you get this stuff a little bit early if you become a paid member, by the way, you can also become a paid member behind the paywall, get the stuff early before it comes out, and get some extra stuff. Like I said, hopefully the Bad Batch stuff you were talking about does come out soon from Mbu Mooney, but I will have that Star Trek stuff up. Mbu Mooney. He's not one of those Moonies, but he's a Mooney.
He's not a Jeff Mooney.
He's
He's
not.
not a Thelma. Thelma's in the hospital again, folks. Send your
Oh,
prayers.
Absolutely. And then
Watch
also, by
this.
the way, listen, if you're an audio podcast listener, all you're listening to are the wrestling podcasts. I understand. Over on Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartMedia, Google Podcasts, Amazon, everywhere. Please don't just subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating review. We would greatly appreciate it. But look, we're going to have to cut out of here. We're almost going long. But before we do, we are recording prior to the Super Bowl. So all of the people that listen prior to the big game, which as late as we are, it's right at 1:30 on Sunday. We're about 5 hours away from kickoff. We're going to make our predictions for the Super Bowl, so you'll listen to our shit after the game is over and see how right or wrong we are. Myron, who's winning? Eagles or Chiefs?
Chiefs by 18.
Oh, my goodness. Any reason, logic, or that's just you going with that?
I've studied all the numbers and looked at it. It's to me, it's the logical choice.
Okay. Well, I hope you're wrong.
Write it down. Write that down.
Write that down.
Yeah.
Write that down, sons. I tell you this. I do not know why, nor do I have a reason, nor do I have a logic as to why I am not a fan of Patrick Mahomes. I don't like him. I've
He'll
never
be
have.
MVP.
He was the league of the MVP. He was the league MVP for the season.
I will give you Super Bowl MVP also.
If they win, he will win it, by the way, because the quarterbacks do. My thing is, I don't know why. I just don't think he comes off authentic. I don't, and I
Jesus Christ, Nick.
What?
That's the lamest.
No, I think he's fake. Dude, he's fake. I think he like
that's
during the whole
fucking reason
he limped around. He limped around with the hurt leg the entire championship game up until it was over, and then magically he was running around the field fine. He stopped selling the injury before he got to the locker room, and I sit there in my head and said the reason he did it was because he limped around, so if they lost, he had the excuse of he was hurt. The second he won, then he played through the pain and they won. Plus, just when I see press conferences, things like that, look, I get it. I can't logically explain it, and I just don't like him, and I wished I did, and I hope I'm wrong. I don't like Philly fans at all. Most of them are
Margaret
just.
One's a Philly fan.
My daughter's boyfriend's a Philly fan.
Which one?
Throw up. Camille, Devin, her boyfriend Devin is a Eagles fan.
My daughter's
logical reasons.
I don't know who he pulls for.
He pulled.
Stuck him on a fucking head.
So,
but haircut off.
So she's a fan now by default, which makes me want to throw up. But here's the thing.
Copycat.
I do want the Eagles to win because my wife is a Cowboys fan, so I would bring great joy in the fact that
piss her off.
That it would piss her off a little bit. You know why? I love it when she's angry. So then
mine's always just angry at me. She's never angry about anything else but me.
There's a 2.5 Men joke in my head that's why
I just read her politics stuff all the time to get her angry at somebody else. I sit and read her.
You're busy. You're busy trying to divert the anger away.
Yeah, I'm trying to divert.
I'm trying
the
to get the anger.
Else.
I'm just trying to.
No, I'm trying to get it at somebody else. I'm
trying to get it at me. I want it at me.
Oh no.
So, anyways, read into that for what you want. I like it when she's angry.
I don't
so
watch.
Anyways, so the whole point being though is I think at the core too. I think Jalen Hurts might be one of the most underappreciated players. I by the way, I was not a fan of his or anything like that.
I knew his father, Richard.
We've gone off the rails here at the end of this episode. If you're still listening, I apologize. Jalen Hurts went to Alabama, and think about it, helped get you a national championship, and all you did was essentially ran him off for Tua. He ended up going off to Oklahoma because you basically you just gave his job away, essentially.
Did he need a car to drive back from Oklahoma?
I don't know. Uh-huh. Then he's drafted, and me included. Here's the thing. I'm man enough to sit here and go, I thought it was a mistake. I thought he was completely. I thought it was a bad pick. I didn't think he was going to do anything. Then they had this great record. They were off to the races this year, and I'm like, they're over. They're going to get exposed at some point. They're not as good as they look. Then he gets hurt. I'm like, well, see, there you go. He's hurt. Blah blah blah. Comes back, and then they're rolling again. Listen, the NFC Championship's totally an exception with Brock Purdy and the backup, by the way, going out for the 49ers. It was what it was. I don't use that as a measuring stick. But I think the Eagles might be underappreciated this season. And so I hope they win it because, by the way, I don't like dynasties. The last thing I need is for Patrick
I didn't like
Mahomes.
Falcon Crest either.
Jesus Christ. I prefer Dallas.
Glue sticks.
Yeah, Myers been stiffing glue sticks this morning, folks. But I just don't want to see a team repetitively win and win and win and win and win. So I don't want to see the Chiefs start getting on a roll and winning a whole bunch of Super Bowls, and because then we're going to have to hear how Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback of all time. And I'm like, listen, I already had to go through that with Brady, who, by the way, probably is. If he's not the greatest quarterback of all time, because I would argue that he's not, but he is the most decorated quarterback in the NFL history, so that's when you can't really argue. So I don't want to go through this with Mahomes. I don't want to go through it again because I just don't.
Oh, this is the worst sports show ever. We should stick to sports entertainment.
No, dude, I actually love this. I love this. So my pick, Eagles by 2. I'm going to give you an odd number. Eagles by 2.
Okay.
So get your squares in.
Okay.
All right. So anywho,
I'll see you in a couple hours.
So Myron's coming over. We're gonna watch this game here at the house. I'm trying to get everything working. So with that being said, Myron, you got anything else?
I have not got anything else.
All right, brother. What's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.